So RBA player LeBron James humiliates himself once again. LeBron James goes straight Krusty the Clown. LeBron James goes Homie the Clown. LeBron James goes Ronald McDonald, goes Pennywise James on himself. LeBron James has another career sabotaging moment. LeBron James is nothing but a straight chump. LeBron James is like Plankton from off of the cartoon TV show SpongeBob SquarePants because he's nothing more than a chump bucket. Call him Le Chump Bucket James. And he's a cum bucket for the male escorts at the Diddy party. But LeBron James goes on a rant and disrespects 90's basketball. He says that he gets infuriated, upset. He's raging because former RBA players have been very critical of this soft generation, and LeBron James responds by saying that it's making it extremely hard for him to go back and watch and appreciate 90's basketball because how they've been so-called hating on the new generation. But here's what LeBron James had to say. This article is per MSN Sports via Athlon Sports, and the headline reads, LeBron James questions 90's RBA talent while bringing up Michael Jordan. The article says, LeBron James made a strong statement on how the modern day RBA differs from the game fans watch in the 90's. The game and the league have evolved constantly, going from a more physical competition in which hard fouls were regular to one where the offense rules and we see less intensity on defense until it's playoff time. The article goes on to say, during Tuesday's episode of his Mind the Game podcast, James and co-host Steve Nash once again discussed various topics, including current topics such as the RBA playoffs, the teams with the most chances to win it all, but also how players from the past impacted and shaped the game. It says one of the topics they touched on included the evolution of the game compared to the 90's, which Nash, a player from that era, thinks that the modern RBA is in a great place. LeBron James says, I loved it growing up, James responded. The older generation, they make you not want to love the game that I grew up watching. I grew up loving a Knicks versus Bulls playoff series or a Pacers versus Knicks playoff series. I'm from this small town outside of Cleveland, but watching the Cavs get an opportunity to play against MJ, I didn't never see it live, obviously, but everybody's excited about it. The generation, they talk so much expletive about the game today, and it makes you go back and watch the game back then, and it makes you not even want to appreciate it no more like I did when I was a kid. It goes on to say James also went against those who criticize his relationship with other active players, calling out the hypocrisy of their statements. He says, quote, these guys here say we can't be friends. You can't be friends with them. Why are you smiling on the court? And then someone goes to find a clip of you standing next to this guy during the finals, smiling and laughing, end quote. See, this is a prime example of how delusional LeBron James is, where he lives in his own world. Him and the Bronsexuals have their own reality, their own separate reality. Because if myself or other real basketball fans who've watched a Kobe Bryant play, who is a reflection and the closest thing that we've seen to Michael Jordan, we see Kobe Bryant's level of dedication, his love for the game, his passion, how obsessed he was with the game and how he wanted to elevate and evolve the game, take it to different heights. He took the game serious, and that gave us a glimpse of what 90's basketball was. So if the younger generation took the time and went back and watched 90's basketball, they would appreciate how the game was played back then. Because now all players care about is social media, getting Instagram models pregnant, flashing money, showing off and bragging about expensive luxury cars, expensive homes that none of us regular folks can afford. They don't take the game serious, going to the club and popping bottles, worried about their Instagram followers. LeBron James set a horrible precedence and a horrible blueprint for the next generation. LeBron James ruined the dunk contest because he stated in an interview that he didn't want to compete in a dunk contest because he's an in-game dunker. Now the entire generation that's coming after him refused to compete in a dunk contest because now they feel like I'm an in-game dunker. They don't want to be embarrassed. Every time LeBron James speaks in these interviews, he further proves to those who can see right through his shenanigans and see right through his deception that LeBron LeBron James, in fact, rode that little short bus back in the days. We could just call him Le Short Bus James. Short bus shouty, short bus shouty, short bus shouty. Okay, I mean, LeBron James makes a mentally challenged person seem like the most intelligent person in the world. I mean, can someone go on OfferUp and get this man some intelligence, buy this man some IQ, Facebook Marketplace at least, please? But the real reason that LeBron James has to tear down and diminish the previous generation and the previous era of basketball, or make it a point to call out former RBA players and defend this era, he feels compelled to do this because LeBron James obviously is still an active player currently. He has to praise this era because it's like, I'm clearly a part of this era. So if the older generation is pooping on us, then I gotta fire back, although LeBron James should have retired many years ago. See, this is the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander era. This is the Nikola Jokic era, the Jason Tatum era, the Anthony Edwards era, the Victor Wembanyama era, the Victor Wembanyama era.
The Victor Wembanyama era.
LeBron should have been hung the jersey up years ago, but he sold this black lie that he wanted to play with his son. He plays with his son, but he's still around. But LeBron James played a huge role as to why the league is where it's at today. Softer than Scott's tissue. He's the reason the league is no longer competitive and that the best players are forming super duper teams together. His way of thinking has been very detrimental to the league, and LeBron James knows that his peers and diehard basketball fans respect and love the way the game was once played. But he has to try to trick his fans into believing that, hey, this era is just as great as the previous eras. But the TV ratings prove otherwise. See, a realist like Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett, they would have kept it real. Many other players who played during that time, they'll be honest and tell you, hey, the 90s was just better. Way more physical, way more entertaining. This new generation is weak. They don't defend. LeBron James wouldn't have survived the 90s era. You know how they had that R. Kelly documentary, Surviving R. Kelly? They would have had to put out a documentary on LeBron James titled Surviving the 90s Defense, because LeBron James would have barely scored 6 points a game. He would have been putting up Bronny numbers, them USC type numbers. See, LeBron James underachieved in his own era that he never dominated in. LeBron James supposedly faced better competition, but got locked down by the J.J. Bareas of the world, the inexperienced finals player and pup, Kawhi Leonard, a non-finals winner at the time, six-man Andre Iguodala. You know, we've seen LeBron James get locked down by the Patrick Beverleys of the world, some of the smallest defenders of all time. See, the difference between the 90s and now is that it's not that this era has more developed superstars. It's just that now, with the rise of social media, any player can be a superstar. And lastly, this man is literally justifying laughing and joking with the opposing team after his team just got smoked, just took a gentleman's sweep, and he's laughing and joking, just sounding like a little kid pointing the finger. Hey, they come at us for laughing and joking with the opposing team, but I could find footage of them doing it too. But in the words of Pinky from the film Next Friday, shut up! There's been too many instances where LeBron James has been seen doing this regularly, like you dancing in the Super Bowl as your team was losing and getting belt to butt, fighting for a playoff spot. There's footage of you saying, you know, it's just basketball, when you're losing, not taking your losses seriously, as if you just don't care. As long as you got your numbers, you don't care. There's footage of you literally on the bench reading your stat sheet solely as your team is getting smoked, getting dog walked. There's tweets from X of you worried about not attending the Met Gala after your team just got eliminated by an in-season tournament caliber team, and your team had the better regular season record. And you had yourself, who's supposedly the GOAT, featuring Luka Doncic, who's also a top 5 player. So there's no excuse. 90s basketball versus LeBron James era, 100 lions versus 100 donkeys, 100 Terminators versus 100 midgets.